Welcome to our U.S. briefing program. Today, we dive into the significant impact of President Trump's new tariffs on U.S.-Africa trade, threatening the livelihoods of many African businesses and the future of the African Growth and Opportunity Act. With tariffs hitting hard, countries like Lesotho and South Africa are feeling the pinch, prompting discussions about seeking new trading partners like China. In other news, Asian stock markets have taken a nosedive, losing a staggering $3.5 trillion in just one day. Investors are flocking to safer assets as uncertainty looms over the global economy, raising concerns about potential retaliatory measures from other nations. The Nikkei has hit a 2-month low, and the market's volatility is making it tough for investors to navigate this turbulent landscape. Lastly, South Korea is in the midst of a political crisis as President Yoon Suk-yeol has been officially impeached following his controversial declaration of martial law. This unprecedented move has left the nation without leadership and has sparked widespread protests. With a general election looming, the political landscape is anything but stable. Please stay tuned for more detailed coverage. Al Jazeera reports that President Donald Trump's recent announcement of tariffs on numerous trading partners, including several African nations, is poised to have significant repercussions on the continent's economy. The tariffs, which include a universal 10% duty on U.S. imports and higher rates for countries like Nigeria and South Africa, threaten to undermine the African Growth and Opportunity Act, AGOA, a key framework established in 2000 that has allowed African manufacturers to export goods to the U.S. duty-free. With Nigeria and South Africa facing tariffs of 14% and 31% respectively, and smaller nations like Lesotho facing a staggering 50%, analysts fear that these changes will push African countries to seek trade partnerships with China instead. This shift could lead to job losses and increased living costs, particularly impacting sectors heavily reliant on U.S. trade. Nikkei Asia highlights the immediate fallout from Trump's tariff announcements, as Asian stock markets experienced a significant downturn, wiping out approximately $3.5 trillion in market capitalization in just one day. The Nikkei stock average plunged by 2.8%, while other markets in Singapore and Vietnam followed suit with sharp declines. Investors are shifting their assets from riskier stocks to safer options, causing the Japanese yen to surge in value. Concerns over a potential global economic slowdown due to these tariffs have led to a cautious atmosphere among investors, who are wary of the uncertain future of international trade relations. The situation has created a ripple effect, causing major stock exchanges in Europe and the US to also experience steep losses, marking one of the worst days for these markets since the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic. CNN covers the political upheaval in South Korea following the Constitutional Court's decision to remove President Yoon Suk-yeol from office. The court unanimously upheld Yoon's impeachment, which stemmed from his unconstitutional declaration of martial law amid political turmoil. The ruling comes at a critical time for South Korea, a key U.S. ally, as it navigates the complexities of global affairs and the shifting landscape of international trade. Yoon's brief tenure, marked by controversy and legal challenges, has left the nation in a state of uncertainty, with the potential for a general election to select a new president within 60 days. The political landscape remains divided, with supporters and opponents of Yoon reacting strongly to the court's decision, while Yoon himself faces ongoing legal battles, including serious charges related to his insurrection trial. CNN reports on the dramatic downfall of former South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol, whose audacious declaration of martial law in a stable democracy led to his impeachment and likely end of his political career. The Constitutional Court's guilty verdict followed chaotic scenes in December, where military helicopters and soldiers clashed with lawmakers and protesters in a failed attempt to suppress dissent. Yoon's extreme actions, labeled as dictatorial by critics, were seen as a betrayal of democratic values, with citizens expressing outrage at his attempts to label opposition members as communist forces. Despite his previous charm offensive with U.S. President Joe Biden, Yoon's political miscalculations, including an unpopular stance on gender equality and a hardline approach to North Korea, left him vulnerable to opposition attacks and ultimately led to his impeachment. Australian Broadcasting Corporation highlights the Albanese government's ambitious plans to transform Australia into a key player in the critical minerals sector, aiming to leverage this initiative in negotiations with the U.S. regarding tariffs imposed by the Trump administration. The government intends to ramp up domestic mining and processing of vital minerals used in various industries, including defense and clean energy. However, experts caution that this endeavor must prioritize environmental sustainability to avoid damaging cultural and ecological assets. Meanwhile, geopolitical competition over these resources intensifies, as Australia seeks to position itself as a reliable alternative to China's dominance in the critical minerals market, potentially gaining leverage in tariff negotiations with the US and strengthening ties with other strategic partners. South China Morning Post examines the implications of the US's sudden imposition of tariffs on Japan and South Korea, which could inadvertently push these key allies closer to China's economic sphere. While the US has emphasized its military alliances with these nations, the hefty tariffs have caused significant market turmoil, prompting both countries to seek exemptions and emergency support. In response, Japan and South Korea have begun discussions with China to strengthen supply chain cooperation and revive stalled free trade agreements. As these nations navigate the fallout of US tariffs, their efforts to reduce economic reliance on China could be complicated by the potential benefits of closer ties with Beijing, raising questions about the future of US influence in the region. South China Morning Post highlights the vibrant atmosphere of the Hong Kong Sevens held at the new Kai Tak Stadium, despite some hiccups like the ban on outside food and drink leading to shortages. Amidst the cheers for local teams, conversations with fellow attendees revealed a complex tapestry of economic concerns, particularly regarding US policies. The interactions underscored a collective anxiety about the unpredictability of the economy, with discussions ranging from the implications of tariffs on trade to the erosion of civil liberties under the Trump administration. A commodities trader noted the stalling of trade due to tariff threats, while a banker pointed to market volatility and the fragility of economic growth. Ultimately, the gathering served as a reminder of the advantages of living in Hong Kong, with its robust infrastructure and low taxes, as attendees reflected on the broader geopolitical landscape. The New York Times reports on a significant legal challenge to President Trump's tariffs on China, initiated by the New Civil Liberties Alliance, which argues that the president misapplied the International Emergency Economic Powers Act to impose these tariffs. The lawsuit, representing a Florida-based company, contends that the law is intended for trade embargoes and sanctions, not for imposing tariffs on American citizens. As Trump expands tariffs further, labeling the U.S. trade deficit as a national security threat, the alliance seeks to block the enforcement of these tariffs, emphasizing that the statute does not grant the president the authority to levy such financial burdens during a declared emergency. The outcome of this case could set a precedent for how executive powers are wielded in trade policy, reflecting broader tensions in U.S. economic governance. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.